everyone, I'm Sapphire, and you're watching the kickoff episode of Pop Art, a new series for, by, and about female creators in the art, animation, and comic universe. We're brand new, so before I review The Little Prince and interview the talented Kirsten Lepore, I want to tell you a little bit about our mission at Pop Post. Pop Post is a modern digital entertainment company and an independent voice for female creators. So thanks for being a part of our growing community. Now let's get this thing popping. It's been a while since I've seen an animated movie that made me feel like a kid again. Or maybe that's just because the lead character looks exactly like me when I was a kid. Either way, The Little Prince is a beautifully made film that is sure to warm your cold, grown-up heart. The film is based on the classic children's novel of the same name. But because of its short length, director Mark Osborne decided to add a larger story to it and make the film more of a tribute to the book. It follows a 9-year-old girl who has her entire life planned out, down to the second of the day, by her overworked single mom. But what she didn't plan on was befriending her old and eccentric neighbor, who shares fantastic stories with her and reminds her of what it means to be a kid. The Little Prince's crowning glory is the stop-motion segments, used to depict the girl's imagination. The puppets are made of paper and clay and painted with a watercolor effect to match the original illustrations in the book, and the effect is stunning. In the book, the Little Prince's Rose is pretty much the only female character, so during development, Osborne was really pushing for the larger story to be about a young girl. He had always been inspired by great female role models in animation like Mulan, but what really made him fight for a female protagonist was when a 2010 study called out films lacking in female speaking parts, and Kung Fu Panda, a film he co-directed, was one of them. Now, the little girl and her mom could have been replaced by a little boy and his dad, and it would still work because the story is so universal. But how often do you see a successful businesswoman mom in an animated movie? Or an overachieving girl whose dreams have nothing to do with finding true love? The fact that Osborne took the information from that study and applied it to his work is why these studies are so important. Yay, progress! The Little Prince will be released for American audiences on Netflix later this year, and I highly recommend it. Make sure you prepare a box of tissues, cause it's gonna get real. I'm here with the super talented Kirsten Lepore. You probably have seen her work on the stop-motion Adventure Time episode Bad Jubies that she wrote and directed, and it's super amazing. So how did you land that gig?
That all came about because I actually released my thesis film for CalArts called Move Mountain online, and then like a week after I released it, I got an email from Adam Muto, who's the EP on the show, basically saying like, we saw your film, it was 11 minutes, Adventure Time's 11 minutes, we like your style, and we feel like it kind of suits the show. Like we feel like that could have been just like a really out there episode of Adventure Time or something. So they wanted me to do a stop motion episode, and I was like, oh my God, yes, absolutely, this is the best thing ever. And then we basically just took it from there, and I just like started writing immediately. So it was an awesome experience. I think the hardest parts were definitely still the parts that I had to do by myself. Like the writing was really, really difficult, because that was literally just me in my bedroom for like a month and a half writing the whole thing and like storyboarding it. And that's not my favorite part of the process. It's just hard. It's just like, you just have to go over it a million times and punch it up and make sure it feels good enough. And there's all this pressure for it to be good enough, because then you're like, okay, well, all these people have to commit to making it. I better have done my job, and it better be good enough. Just the writing. So that was really hard. The funnest part was actually doing the voice recording, like writing all of this dialogue for these characters that I know and love, and then hearing it in my head, and then getting into the studio finally with all the voice actors and them actually saying these words I wrote, like, was mind-blowing. It was like so bizarre. Like, it's becoming real. Like, that was really, really exciting.
You went to school for animation, but there are a lot of people who get into the industry without going to school. Mm-hmm. Do you have any opinion on whether or not one's better than the other, or they're the same?
I went to undergrad at a school called MICA for experimental animation. And then 2 years after I graduated from that, I went to CalArts for grad school and also studied experimental animation. I definitely think in the animation field, you don't need to go to college. There are plenty of people that I know that are indie animators that never went to school, and their work is amazing, and they have tons of film online. I feel like these days, clients aren't like, send me your resume so I can see where you went to school. Like, let me make sure you have a master's degree. Like, nobody cares, you know? Like, it's all about portfolio and how good the work is, and also like your work ethic and if you can deliver on time. But at the same time, I definitely would never take back any of my school experiences that I've had. So I think it can be really valuable.
Do you have any advice for anyone who's trying to get into this industry?
Before you're even trying to get a gig or a job or whatever, just make sure you're making work that you feel is unique to you. While you're in school especially, I think it's really important to be making films that are just what you want to make. Like, that's what you're there for. That's like the only time you actually get to do that. So whenever you're not being employed for animation, like, that really should just be your time to have total freedom. And just, like, surprisingly enough, I feel like that's what ends up catching the attention of, like, a client or the internet or whoever's going to hire you. It's always my personal films that will get me jobs. It's never like that client piece I did. But people will be like, oh, but I watched this film you made and it, like, made me cry. Like, that's way more valuable to anyone, especially someone hiring you, than the opposite.
Have you seen the trailer for The Little Prince?
I have. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's really, really great. I haven't seen it, but I really, really want to see it.
I've seen it.
Is it good?
It's beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, I hear it's like making huge waves overseas, and then somehow the U.S. is being silly and not.
Yeah,
like,
Paramount dropped it, and then Netflix picked it up. So now it's going to be on Netflix in like
That's good.
a few months.
That's awesome. That's great.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Kirsten.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
If you want to look at Kirsten's beautiful artwork and see the amazing stuff that she's done, you can look at it on...
You can go to my website, KirstenLepore.com.
Yay!
Check it out.
Thanks for being awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Pop Art. Are you excited for The Little Prince? Do you want to tell Kirsten how awesome she is? Say it in the comments. If you want to see a mind-blowing behind-the-scenes featurette on The Little Prince and the making of the stop-motion Adventure Time episode, the links are down below. And visit poppost.com to learn more about and join our growing community. We can't wait to hear from you.
Don't forget to subscribe and check out our new series, Sandbox, hosted by Whitney Moore, discussing all things in the gaming universe.